Okay, everybody, welcome back. We got another event to talk about. We just got off the heels of additive drops regarding Drogon over here. And now we have additive drops for some Conquest characters for Terran Malicos and Admiral Trench. So that's pretty interesting that they're kind of doing this back to back. I wonder if it's going to be a kind of constant ongoing thing as part of this new catch-up style of thing going on. Interestingly, they're dropping signal data and Kyrotechs. Hint, hint, wink, wink, maybe something is going on with those. Don't know yet. Okay, so the gist of what's happening is we have light side nodes dropping Terran Malicos over here. Pretty good character for countering things like Rey under a Seer lead. And then we have Admiral Trench, Separatist. Not good for much, honestly. Kind of a niche little C tier defense, potentially. I don't really know what he gets done on offense. Maybe something in TW was an annoying defense. We've never really been held up by him. But yeah, maybe you're looking forward to him. So light side dropping Terran Malicos, dark side dropping Admiral Trench. Again, these are Conquest characters. So the reason that this matters, beyond they're hard to get, and if you're trying to get these, that means you didn't get them in Conquest and you're getting them through Proving Grounds, and that's annoying. Something to consider is that you're going to want to be particular about where to stop with getting extra shards, because you're only going to be able to get like set amounts of shards from Proving Grounds, right? Proving Grounds, I believe, pays in groups of 20. And then I believe you can get sets of 5 sometimes from the Conquest store over here. Let's go down and look and see if they're even there. I know there's only certain characters that rotate in and out. Yeah, so like right now they're not in there. I don't know if they actually show up in maybe Jocasta new slot for crystals. I don't think it's necessarily worth it. The point is, you're going to want to stop in increments of 5. Don't like go spending crystals to try to get more energy, to get more drops, so that you can be in the couple of shards range. Just something niche to keep an eye on. You're probably going to want to get this in increments of 20 and time your Proving Grounds play out from there. So that's just something, a little oddity to consider. So that's what characters are dropping. That's what's happening. Let's go ahead and get to the math and the dates and how to hoard if you want to hoard. Those types of things. We'll go over to the spreadsheet once again. So looking at the spreadsheet here is we got the bonus drop starting on 10/17. So that's in 2 days, maybe a day and a half, however you consider it, if you've already done your refreshes today. Then you got tomorrow, and then you're off to spending it. So it's not a lot of time to hoard, unfortunately. I don't know how much exactly you'd want to hoard, but that's going to be dependent on whether you need Terran Malicos, whether you need Admiral Trench. Secondarily, after you've done farming Terran Malicos and Admiral Trench, if you have those at 7 stars, Terran Malicos, the light side, is going to drop flawed signal data on light side nodes after 7 stars, and Trench is going to drop MK9 Battletech Kyrotech battle computers. So one of these things is better than the other for sure, but you might need a lot of computers. I think you actually need less computers than shock prods anyway, the MK7 one. So mileage may vary there. I think people are going to be gravitating towards the light side. However, there's something to consider. Historically, flawed signal data has dropped at a remarkably low rate. I think it's been 0.5% to 1% per energy dropping. I think those numbers are about correct, but obviously it's going to change depending on the event and if they decide to change things, right? All in all, I don't know how worth it is to hoard if you're just getting flawed signal data. The shard drops can be pretty generous, but I don't necessarily know that that's going to be the case with Conquest units showing up there. And then secondarily, you know, if you're looking for flawed signal data, I don't know how much it's worth it, because you're spending crystals to hoard the energy in order to do this. Now, of course, if you've seen my previous videos, you know at one point I was hoarding normal energy. Of course, they wait to do this until right after I spend 4,000 normal energy. The reason I spent the normal energy is I was thinking like, oh, I don't really use this anymore. I don't need bronzium. I don't need carbonite circuit boards. I don't need Kyrotechs. So I'm going to go ahead and hoard for GL tickets, right? Or another bonus drop event that happens. Well, The problem was they released kicks on a light side node, which means I had to use normal energy, which means I basically couldn't effectively hoard as much normal energy because I'd constantly have to be spending it in order to get kick shards. And then the possibility that even more marquees fell on there said, oh, that's not a smart idea to hoard normal energy. I don't know. I thought I was some whale or something or big time account, but the fact is I'm not buying marquees left and right. So eventually I have to hard node farm these marquees. Anyways, the point is I just spent 4,000 normal energy and then they go and drop this after it's all gone. So I will be hoarding a little bit like everybody else. I'm going to be doing these 50s at the end of the day once my normal energy kind of accrues, right? So I guess we can go ahead and get into the hoarding strategy. Today, if you haven't done your 50 crystal refreshes for normal energy, then you'll want to wait until you're at about 144. Maybe you have that evening extra energy that kind of piles on top. Go ahead and apply that. Then you go ahead and spend your crystals before you go to bed to refresh. Do your 3 refreshes. And then tomorrow, you would just spend your normal refreshes like that. And then go ahead and let your bonus energy accrue. Collect your bonus energy. You're not going to get anywhere near the cap by doing this of 2,000 normal energy. So you shouldn't have any issues just buying the crystals. There's no complicated spend down, do this, do that. You're not going to have to worry about any of that. Additionally, you're going to have a couple extra sources of energy that you can hold on to if you haven't done it yet. What you can do is go over to the web store, which I'll show you here. And they have this Cantina Holotables thing on the Kessel run. Basically, just for logging in, you get 1,000 points, which gets you the 1,000 points here, which gets you 100 energy. So like today, I have this. It doesn't expire until a couple days from now, so it will be available on 10/17 when the additive drops go live. Then I'll collect that energy there, and then I'll also get this again tomorrow and then every day of the event. So make sure you're logging into the web store in order to go ahead and get this extra energy that you have access to. Another thing that you can do if you haven't already done it yet for the Drogon and the Cantina drops, I already have, but I don't know, some of you might be on a little bit of a slower cadence logging into the web store and stuff. Over here in the Coaxium heist, there is a reward that gives you some energy. It's the second parsec right here, parsec 2, and it gives you 200 normal energy and 200 extra Cantina energy. If you don't have that or you haven't spent it already, because you can hold on to these things all month, then that might be an extra source of a couple hundred energy. Also, what you're going to want to do, which it's going to log me out when I click over here right now. I'm going to go ahead and, oh yeah, you might be circling back on it if you spent a lot of money. I don't know if people are spending on the web store, but this thing resets. So if you already collected it for Drogon and you put some money down for episode passes or marquees or whatever was going on, you might be able to go ahead and circle back to this 500. It's pretty easy to get once the rewards reset. So might be an extra source of energy. All right, when you go to the web store though, like I said, I'll go to this and then it's going to log me in. And then you'll see down here, you have the web store crate. Once you have your refreshes and you're kind of hoarding, you can go ahead and click this and there's a chance that it drops 50 or 100 normal energy too. That'll get you some extra normal energy for that, right? So just one way of adding more normal energy to the stack to go ahead and spend down. So I'm expecting, honestly, on 1,000 normal energy, that you're gonna get like, I think that's maybe 10 signal data if you're lucky at a 1% drop rate, probably closer to 5. What people are gonna be wondering is that would you spend hundreds? Like, would you do the 100 energy refresh, 100 crystal refreshes? And I think the answer is no, because if you're spending 100 crystals, that would equate to, at full crystal price, right? That's gonna equate to 3.3 or 3.1, is it 3.3? 3.3 flawed signal data that you could have just bought, essentially, if you bought a stack of flawed signal data from the shipments. Now, what we know from our signal data calculations with this new pack that keeps showing up, the signal data cache pack, there is a better way to kind of get signal data. Essentially, you can get it at discount, right? So we'll go over there and see if that's what the price is in on there, right? So the farm value of energy is a lot less. So if you are, it's like 11 point, I think I have the totals up here, right? So the drop rate, crystal cost, refresh cost, you're looking at for flawed signal data is 19.9. So if you're going to farm this via normal Cantina refreshes, you could get 5 flawed signal data for that 100 crystal refresh, right? And I'm guessing we're going to get 5 to 10 on 1,000 energy. So you're just not going to do well in terms of that pricing. So that's why I don't think I would do it if I'm farming flawed signal data. If I'm not going to do it for flawed signal data, I'm sure as hell not going to do it for Kyrotechs. That's just way too expensive for Kyrotechs. And then the question becomes, would you do it if you need Terran Malicos shards? Again, we're doing that whole thing where we look at how many shards we're actually going to get and the chunks that we need, right? Those 20 shard chunks that we get from Proving Grounds before we can actually unlock the character. And when we take into consideration that, I think that you're not going to get quite as many shards that you would need to justify that. Also, say you spend 2 days of hoarding is 3 days of 100 crystal refreshes. You spend 600 crystals, you get 720 energy. All right, so even if they're dropping at 2%, you're gonna get like 28 shards. When you could just spend, I think it's 1,000 crystals to refresh the Proving Grounds event if you really wanted to. Or you could just wait another month and you're gonna get those too. So it's just all dependent on what you want to spend. But honestly, I think in general, the hundreds are not worth it to spend, because I think 2% would even be a generous drop rate, but I'm not entirely sure on the character shards. So all in all, it's just free stuff. I think it's a good move for CG to go ahead and give it to us. I kind of like this, and the more common they make it, I think they make people feel less like they have to hoard all the time. When it's once in a blue moon, we all want to kind of jump on it and hoard as much as possible. Obviously, CG doesn't like us hoarding. It doesn't encourage spending, all these other things. So we'll live with what comes. But in the meantime, we just get freebies. So any flawed signal data I get from this, I'm going to be happy with. There's no reason not to be happy about it. So I'll just save my normal energy, do my 50s, and hopefully I break even on that. It's a chance to get more signal data. There's a chance that it's not even worth it. See, like, if you do the 350s, right, that's 150 crystals, and then you have 360 energy. A 1% drop rate on 360 crystals would be 3.6 energy, or 3.6 flawed signal data. 3.6 flawed signal data for a 50 crystal refresh for 150 crystals. That's actually not good math. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think they're going to go higher than that on the drop rate. So yeah, that would be effectively like 44 crystals per signal data, which is just a bad deal. I could just buy it in the shop for 30. I recant my previous statement. I'm not buying the 50s. Unless you think they're going to drastically increase the drop rate of flawed signal data, don't buy the 50s either. Just use your normal energy. Yeah, don't. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. I forgot. Yeah, that's I forgot to do that math. I originally just saw 50 and I was like, okay, 50 divided by 3.6, that would be about 13 crystals, 15 crystals per signal data. But the problem is it's 3 of them, so it's 150. Yep, okay, that's my conclusion. Don't hoard for flawed signal data. Don't hoard for Kyrotechs. And go ahead and hoard if you want Malicos shards. I think that's probably worth it though. Shards are expensive. Okay, that's all I got. If you got usefulness out of this video, hit the subscribe button. If you got usefulness, hit the like button and then hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button twice and then realize that you unsubscribed and then hit it again so you subscribe again. And then hit the notification bell so you know when all these videos go live. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.